How did Lucifer, one of God's most beautiful creations, become Satan, the adversary? Our story begins in the heavenly realms, where the angelic being known as Lucifer resided. Lucifer was no ordinary angel. He was a cherub, a high-ranking angel who held a position of great esteem and authority. In the celestial hierarchy, cherubs were considered to be incredibly close to God, privy to divine secrets and wisdom. Now, let's take a moment to visualize Lucifer's beauty. Picture an angel so dazzling that it's almost hard to comprehend. Ezekiel, in the 28th chapter of his book, verses 12 to 15, paints a vivid portrait of this angel. He describes Lucifer as perfect in beauty, adorned with every precious stone and filled with wisdom. Lucifer was covered in a multitude of precious stones, from jasper to emerald, from sapphire to diamond, from onyx to gold. His beauty was so extraordinary, so awe-inspiring, that it was as if he was crafted from pure light. His wisdom was profound, surpassing that of many. But Lucifer was more than just a beautiful exterior. He was imbued with divine wisdom, a wisdom that allowed him to understand the mysteries of the universe and the divine plan of God. His wisdom and beauty combined made him one of the most magnificent beings in all of creation. Yet, despite his beauty, his wisdom, and his close proximity to God, Lucifer was not content. In the heart of this stunning angel, a seed of discontent began to sprout. A desire for more, a longing for something beyond his reach began to take root in his heart. This discontent was not born out of deprivation, for Lucifer lacked nothing. Rather, it was born out of ambition, pride, and a yearning for power and supremacy. But even in heaven, amid all its splendor, discontent began to fester in the heart of Lucifer. This discontent would set the stage for a series of events that would change the course of history and reshape the cosmic order forever. But what was it that caused Lucifer, the morning star, to fall from grace? Lucifer was not always the prince of darkness we know today. Once upon a time, he was the shining morning star, the bearer of light, a beacon of beauty and wisdom among the celestial beings. Yet within his radiant form, a darkness began to brew, a darkness born out of pride and arrogance. The Bible in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verses 13 and 14, gives us a glimpse into the heart of Lucifer. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly, on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. These verses reveal the deep-seated desire that corrupted Lucifer, the desire to be like God, to be worshipped and revered. This was the first sin, the original transgression. Not a sin of the flesh, but a sin of the heart, a sin of the spirit. Lucifer's pride and arrogance were in direct opposition to the divine order of things. God, in his infinite wisdom and power, is the only one who deserves to be exalted, the only one worthy of worship. Lucifer's desire to usurp this position was a direct challenge to God's sovereignty, a rebellion against the very essence of divine order. This was the moment when the seeds of rebellion were sown in the heart of Lucifer. His desire to be like God, to ascend above the stars, was a direct violation of the divine order. It was the spark that ignited a celestial conflict, a war in heaven, a battle between the forces of good and evil. In his pride and arrogance, Lucifer forgot his place. He forgot that he was a creation, not the creator. He set himself up against the Almighty, and in doing so, he set himself on a path of destruction. And so the seeds of rebellion were sown, leading to a celestial conflict like no other. A war in heaven, can you imagine that? Picture this: the realm of the divine, which is known for peace and harmony, suddenly erupts into a fierce battle, a celestial civil war. This was no ordinary skirmish, but a rebellion led by none other than Lucifer, the shining one, the bearer of light. The Bible paints a vivid but brief picture of this monumental conflict in Revelation 12, 7, 9. It tells us that Lucifer, in his pride and ambition, rallied a significant portion of heaven's hosts to his cause, a staggering third of the angelic beings. He persuaded these celestial creatures, who lived in the presence of God's glory, to join him in his audacious plot against the Almighty. But what was the nature of this rebellion? It wasn't a physical battle as we humans understand it. The weapons weren't swords or spears, but will and influence. Lucifer sought to usurp God's throne, to place himself above the Most High. He wanted to redefine good and evil, to make himself the arbiter of truth. This was a struggle for the heart of heaven, a struggle of loyalties, of allegiance. It was a battle between the steadfast angels who remained faithful to God and the rebellious angels who were swayed by Lucifer's false promises of power and freedom. But God, in his divine justice, would not allow this rebellion to go unanswered. The Archangel Michael and his loyal angels fought back, standing firm for the truth and the rightful rule of God. The outcome, the rebel Lucifer and his followers were defeated. But how did Lucifer, the fallen angel, become Satan, the adversary? It's a question that resonates through the ages. After his fall from heaven, Lucifer underwent a transformation. He was no longer the light bringer, the morning star. He became Satan, a name that means adversary or accuser. This was not a title bestowed upon him by others, but a reflection of his new role, his new purpose. Satan, in his new guise, sought to undermine God's creation, to sow discord and disobedience. His methods were not of brute force or open warfare. Instead, he became the tempter, the deceiver, using cunning and deceit to achieve his ends. Let's take a moment to look at Genesis 3:1-5. Here we find Satan in the Garden of Eden, manifesting as a serpent. He doesn't attack Adam and Eve. Instead, he tempts them, drawing on their curiosity and desire for knowledge. He questions God's instructions, planting seeds of doubt. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? He asks, twisting God's words. When Eve corrects him, he counters with a lie, a half-truth. "You will not certainly die," he tells her. "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." He promises knowledge, equality with God, but what he delivers is disobedience and separation from God. This is Satan, the adversary. He is not a rival God, but a fallen angel, a creature of God's creation who has turned against his creator. He's the accuser who stands before God to point out the sins of humanity, seeking to separate us from God's love and mercy. He is the tempter who uses deceit and manipulation to lead us astray, and thus Lucifer was no more. In his place stood Satan, the adversary of God and humanity. His fall from grace was complete, his transformation absolute. He had become the embodiment of opposition to God, a symbol of rebellion and defiance. But remember, he is not beyond God's judgment, and his end has already been foretold. So, what is Satan's role in the grand scheme of things? In the cosmic sense, Satan is often seen as the adversary, the tempter, and the deceiver. His mission, as understood from various interpretations of the Bible, is to lead humans away from the path of righteousness, away from the light of God. Satan, as the Bible elucidates, is not merely a symbolic figure of evil. He is a potent force, an entity that strives to sow the seeds of discord, doubt, and despair in the hearts of men and women. The Apostle Peter provides a vivid description of Satan where he writes, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." This metaphor of a prowling lion is not used lightly. It serves to underline the relentless, predatory nature of Satan. He's ever watchful, always waiting for a moment of weakness, a crack in our faith to strike and lead us astray. A crucial part of understanding Satan's role is the concept of spiritual warfare. This is the ongoing battle between good and evil, between God and Satan, fought not on physical battlefields but in the spiritual realm, within our hearts and minds. In this unseen war, Satan uses deception, temptation, and lies as his weapons, targeting our vulnerabilities, our fears, and our desires. But remember, despite his seeming power, Satan is not a counterpart to God. He is a created being, limited and finite, unlike God, who is eternal, omnipotent, and omnipresent. Satan may be a formidable adversary, but he is not, and never will be, equal to God. Satan, once a beautiful angel, now stands as a symbol of rebellion, deceit, and destruction. His actions serve as a stark reminder of the consequences of disobedience and pride. and the importance of humility and obedience in our relationship with God. But what does the future hold for Satan, the fallen angel? As we navigate the labyrinth of biblical scriptures, we find ourselves in the prophetic book of Revelation, specifically chapter 20, verse 10. Here we find the anticipated fate of the fallen angel, the adversary, the deceiver, Satan himself. The scripture tells us, "And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever." This, my friends, signifies Satan's ultimate defeat. But what does this mean, you might ask? What is this lake of fire, and why is it significant? Well, the lake of fire, in the context of Revelation, is not merely a physical place. It's a symbolic representation of eternal separation from God, the ultimate, irreversible judgment. The lake of fire is described as a place of torment, a place where the beast and the false prophet, two other significant entities of evil, are also cast. This imagery serves to underscore the severity of Satan's punishment, aligning it with the most profound forms of retribution mentioned in the scriptures. But let's delve deeper into the phrase tormented day and night, forever and ever. This phrase evokes a sense of unending suffering, of a punishment that persists eternally. This is not a temporary setback for Satan. This is his final destination, a place of relentless torment, far removed from the grace and love of God. In essence, the final judgment of Satan is a testament to the ultimate triumph of good over evil. It's the culmination of a cosmic battle, a grand narrative that began with a single act of rebellion in the heavenly realms. And so we see that Satan's journey, which started in the highest heavens, ends in the lowest depths. From an angel of light to the prince of darkness, his fall is complete and absolute. In the end, the great adversary will meet his downfall, just as he did in the beginning. Let's recap what we have learned about Lucifer, who was turned to Satan. To begin with, we revisited the heavenly beginnings, where Lucifer was initially one of the most beautiful and powerful beings created by God. His beauty, wisdom, and power were unmatched, making him stand out among the heavenly hosts. However, he let these gifts get to his head, leading him down a path of pride and arrogance. Then we peered into the seeds of rebellion. Lucifer's pride bred discontent and a desire for more. He wasn't satisfied with his position and aspired to ascend above the stars of God, seeking to possess a throne higher than that of the Most High. This rebellion against God's divine order was the first sin, marking the start of Lucifer's downfall. We then journeyed through the Great Rebellion, a cosmic war that shook the heavens. Lucifer, now fully consumed by his pride and desire for power, led a rebellion against God, taking a third of the heavenly host with him. But God, in his infinite power and justice, quelled the rebellion and cast out Lucifer and his followers from heaven. This brings us to the point where Lucifer becomes Satan. Stripped of his beauty and glory, he was transformed into a symbol of evil, deceit, and destruction. His name, once a representation of light and beauty, became associated with darkness and despair. He tempts, lies, and deceives, attempting to pull us away from our relationship with God. However, it's important to remember that his power is limited and he is ultimately under God's control. Despite Satan's attempts to disrupt God's plan, the Bible assures us of a final victory over evil. Satan, along with sin and death, will be defeated and thrown into the lake of fire, marking the end of his influence over humanity. Reflecting on this story, we see the dangerous consequences of pride and rebellion. Lucifer's transformation into Satan serves as a stark warning against letting pride control our hearts and actions. It teaches us to remain humble, acknowledging that all our gifts and talents come from God and should be used to glorify Him. Furthermore, the story reminds us of the consequences of sin. Lucifer's rebellion led to his fall, and his continued sin only furthers his separation from God. It's a sobering reminder that sin pulls us away from our Creator. On a brighter note, the story also offers a message of hope. Despite the presence of evil in the world, we can rest assured in the promise of final victory over Satan. This gives us hope and encouragement to persevere in our faith, knowing that God is in control and will ultimately triumph over evil. Remember, even the brightest of stars can fall, and the most beautiful of angels can become the most dreadful of adversaries. The story of Lucifer's transformation into Satan is a tale of pride, rebellion, and hope. It's a story that invites us all to reflect on the state of our hearts and our relationship with God.